Oh, we're synced up. We're synced up. Got my Henny on the raw. And we need to talk about one battle after another. Yes, we do. Paul Thomas Anderson. He doesn't need much of an introduction at this point. I think this is movie number 10. What a guy. What a guy. I'm just going to go through a list of notes I took while watching this movie for the second time. We'll start at the beginning. We'll start at the beginning. And this is a thing that I'm not seeing very many people talk about, is just how bad the beginning of the movie is. I don't know if it doesn't ring that way for other people. The problem is, really, the most succinct I could put it is we have montage exposition, which doesn't really allow me to settle into my seat. It certainly doesn't allow me to settle into this world. The opening shots and stuff just aren't really awe-inspiring like I'm used to with PTA, where it's like, give me this big sweep. I see him going for it. Tiana walking down the highway. We get this overview shot of the internment camp and migrant facility, rather. And I understand, right? We need to see the big boom at the beginning. It's sort of fun. We get Leo pulling up. He doesn't know what's going on. He's sort of out of his element. He's a guy with a wagon full of explosives. Kind of doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't seem like many of them know what's going on. What I think is important to note is that this is probably like the only part of the movie that feels like it takes itself like entirely seriously. I don't really remember too many jokes, and even like these weird scenes where it's going to make you laugh from being uncomfortable. It doesn't really feel like there's a joke going on. Let's talk about the scene where Perfidia busts in and Lockjaw's asleep and she gets him to pitch a tent for her at gunpoint, right? This is like an interesting, like, this is a PTA-ass thing to do. I'm not sure who else would even attempt this in a movie. Very strange, very sexually deviant. He's a sexual bohemian, that one. And it's even in these moments where I do feel a magnetism between the characters. I like it almost. And then he doesn't let it breathe. And I don't know if this is a PTA problem. I don't know if this is a studio problem. I don't know if this is an editor problem. That's not really up to me to figure out who fucked it up. It's my job to tell you it's fucked up. Really what it is it's just everything is too fast. Like I said, montage exposition. We get these cool shots between Perfidia and Sean Penn, and they don't breathe long enough. I'm not feeling the beats. I'm not feeling little like pockets where I can really absorb what's going on. Granted, we're going to have some people saying, "Did you see the title of the movie? It's called One Battle After Another." He literally says that in the voiceover. I get it, right? We need to show this whole before to have the after. This is necessary for the movie. This is necessary for the setup. This is necessary for the build-up. The problem is the concept is needed and the execution is donkey balls. It's really bad. It's everything is just cut. Everything is just, we get boom, explosion. Oh, they're robbing a bank this way now. Oh, they're banging. Oh, this, that, the third. It's fun, right? The idea of just this group going around and just causing absolute mayhem. We get this, like, it's high octane, explosive sex. What's going on? That's, it feels right in that sense, but it's really like the writing that's gonna leave me wanting more. I think I'm not even sure it's the performances, right? I didn't love Tiana Taylor's performance. Very cool lady. She's a multi-hyphenate, creative, awesome lady. I've seen her talk in the interviews, and it's very clear the direction they went with her character. Once again, don't know if it's her, don't know if it's Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm just saying she is like the crux of this whole thing. Generally, is that she's the way she is. It's absolute, firebrand of an individual. She can't be contained, can't be put in a box. She's never gonna like stifle herself for this. She's always got to make this point. Feels like normie bait at a point. It feels like they set this up to be like the whole like, they'll never let you change it, the system without violence. I get it, right? This is this sort of pervasive idea in leftist ideology, but really, the one-liners and all this stuff just fall like super flat. Like, I'm thinking when Leo is in the Perfidia's mom's house and he's talking to her and she's like, she comes from a long line of revolutionaries, and like that's it. That's the one line or one of two lines we get from the mom before she's like sad her granddaughter has to leave. And I'm like, okay, so you're trying to do that. Like, these ideas take a whole scene, at least in my mind. Takes a whole scene to show that she's from a long line of revolutionaries. Have the mom do some cool badass revolutionary shit. She doesn't. She's just sitting there chirping. Doesn't work. Perfidia going, oh my gosh, I'm just a piece of meat to you. Like, it doesn't work, because we don't get this, like, there's no animosity of her towards her pregnancy at all till that. Like, we see her shooting the gun with the big pregnant belly, and we get the fun mirror shot later, Chase Infinity doing it. Okay, cool. I get what he's setting up. It just, like I said, really falls flat. And the problem of it taking itself more seriously than the rest of the movie is I'm sort of left wondering, I'm left wondering where it's sort of headed. It just doesn't seem to really mesh well with the rest of the movie. I feel like after this point, you see Perfidia rat, she flips, she like leaves all her values. Like, she's not a person with values, right? Like, this is another thing. Is like, maybe that's the point. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Let's think about what else is there is bad writing. Oh, the bank scene. Jungle Pussy. Oh, no. Like, no. So bad. Whatever that little monologue was, I hope she came up with that on the spot so I can blame her instead of Paul. But, like, no. So bad. So bad. And I wanted to be like, maybe revolutionaries didn't talk like that. I'm immediately sending back. I'm thinking, like, Black Panther group, like Earth Liberation Front. I'm thinking of these like older school groups, but PTA like modernized it, which needed to happen for stuff like the little iPhone gag and these things. Like, it's death of a salesman, but it's the death of a revolutionary, right? If we were to draw those parallels, I understand. But the thing with that is, okay, 16 years later, I mean, I'm kind of assuming this is happening now. We're in 2024. So 16 years before 2024, we're in 2008. I don't know. I don't think it's flying for that long, you know? And really at the core of it, at like the very core of it is just, there were like 4 sequences, set pieces, what have you, at the beginning that really worked. And then they were cut up to just cut to bits. I know we left so much on the editing room floor in order to jam other bits into it that I didn't care for, right? The campfire part was kind of fun of them. To me, that's a very Monkey Wrench Gang-esque thing. Okay, we went and blew this thing up. Let's go celebrate and drink some beers around the campfire. It's almost like a modern rendition of the American Cowboy, right? I mean, granted, they weren't maybe blowing stuff up, but you go rob a bank or something, and you go sit around the campfire with your wagon out in the wilderness, right? And we've got that desert sort of imagery, so like that all ties together. I think it's fun. Like, that part is cool. And then we just do this weird thing where Perfidia like aims her gun at like Leo, and then they're like, "What that pussy do?" Don't know. Really don't know. Doesn't work for me. I'm not sure how much of this is PTA's writing, how much he's letting the cast kind of go off at things. Okay, just talk around the campfire. We'll cut this together and it'll work. It sure didn't. It sure did not work. I was annoyed. I'm not a walk out of a movie kind of guy, especially if I paid for it. And actually both times I watched this movie, so the first time I'm about ready to leave because it's just really grating in a way that's not like, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes. It's grating in a way of like, feels like they made him cut 30 minutes out of the movie and he cut it all out of the first part. Once again, I can't really call it heads or tails if the studio is actually doing that. This is me being cynical. Don't know. But it's just, it's not there. It's not there. We have a web of characters, and we need to get to know all of them. Like, how many revolutionaries are there? There's a lot of them. You need to know the coyote guy. You need to know the dude from The Wire. You need to know, you see, I'm losing their names, and that's bad of me. But the lady that saves Chase from the dance, you need to know her. There's the white girl who wears the wig, gets iced. There's the kid that looks like Paul Thomas Anderson's son or something, I don't know, driving the car. A lot of them are nameless. That's fine. They can be nameless. But when they're going to come back in the movie later, they need to have, like, one thing. Like, they need to have their character do one thing. And it's too fast. This is the problem. We have, like, montages where, Okay, we see them in the migrant facility. They're getting all the meathead dudes up and like taking their guns. And like, I don't really, there's no like interaction that he lets linger at all. So nothing feels important, yet this is the part of the movie that takes itself very importantly. We get Perfidia delivering her little manifestos over the phone about the abortion clinic and this, that, the third. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is like a lot of the things that get introduced in this part are mandatory for the remainder of the story. Like they really are. Obviously the Perfidia, Sean Penn, Leo kind of love triangle is like very important for the rest of the movie. I mean, it's like I said, Perfidia is kind of the crux of everything. Like every character is attached to her in some way, shape, or form. She is like, you know, she's the mother of the main character. She's the lover of two of them. You know, things get sort of hazy because obviously she kind of is left between a rock and a hard place with Sean Penn. Kind of needs to do this to get out of the situation that she's caught herself in. But then she leaves. And I maybe get the idea that other people think she's really epic for that. Like, you know, nothing can hold her down. But no, I wasn't going for it. As soon as, like, I mean, I didn't like her character the whole time. I'm not supposed to, like, I don't know if you're supposed to think she's, like, really cool and, like, really outspoken and awesome. But I thought it was super lame and bad. I don't know. It's just, like I said, I'm saying this again, it's just montage exposition doesn't really work when you need to set up this many characters, when you need to set up, like, generations worth of stuff, you know? I don't know. I'm not a big Beyond the Place Beyond the Pines guy, but there's a movie that, like, took its time with both parts, right? If you're going to have, you know, parents and kids, like generation 1, generation 2, you have to spend, like, maybe not equal amounts of time, but you need to give them equal amounts of, like, little character moments, little moments where like, there's things that are unspoken, you know, I don't know. And I mean, back to the really, like, the way too fast cutting with this montage thing is, like, Perfidia and Leo, like, blowing up that thing, and she's like, oh, please, let's fuck. It, like, is fun. I like the idea of her being such a problem that she, like, can't even get away from the scene of her crime. She's like the Joker on some shit. I don't even know. And then I don't even get to see it. Show me something. That's the other thing, is we just get all this ideas and then we're not really shown too much of it, but we're sure shown, like, the foreplay in a bunch of parts of Leo being like, here's how you twist a wire and blow up a bomb. And then she just, like, sits on him. And you're like, okay, I don't know. But I don't know. I think that's really enough of that. It's just bad. The first 20 minutes is proper terrible. You know what? I'm not done. We have to talk about the beginning more, because voiceovers are poop. Voiceovers are bad. Even in movies where the voiceover is so integral to it. Think, David Lynch Fight Club. No, like, even with that, right, it serves more of a purpose. Oh, we need the inner thoughts. With this, it gives me that terrible, cynical vibe that the studio's having their hands in all this shit. The studio says, hey, PTA, this is looking a little strange, a little esoteric. I'm not really picking up what you're putting down. Can you make it a migrant facility? Can you make it have something to do with abortion clinics? Can you do a voiceover for Perfidia so we know what she's thinking? So we not only does she say my nipples hurt behind the door, not only does she tell Leo to his face, oh, I'm just a piece of meat now. I need a little voiceover of her explaining what those things mean, right? Please, yeah, hit me over the fucking head with it. This is an idea that we're probably not going to come back to until the end, but this is a show don't tell type of problem. I like when I'm treated with a certain, just throw me a little bit of, like, treat me a little bit like I'm smart. Make me have to look up what did that mean after the movie, right? Make me be the little dumb guy looking up, one battle after another, first 10 minutes explained, please, on YouTube afterwards. Instead, voiceover. And no, not here for it. And then what the voiceover does is it sort of undermines the other parts. Now, Do we spend enough time with the family to get the idea that Perfidia doesn't really want to be held down by any of these responsibilities? Does she not want to be tethered to anything on the earth? 100%. 100% that's part of it. Why do we need a voiceover to tell us that? You know, we hear behind the door, like I just said. We get the shot of her and Leo and the baby. Sort of beautiful. It doesn't last for long enough, and it certainly doesn't last long enough for him to cut back to it at the end of the movie like he does. I'm not feeling... Well, I feel the father-daughter dynamic as soon as the first part of the movie's over. I'm not feeling much of a dynamic with Perfidia and anyone. And then she leaves and, like, Leo's like, go get him, baby. And then, of course, you know, she fucks it all up. So, you know, if you take the migrant camp thing and you extend it, if you take Perfidia and Lockjaw's little standoff and you extend it, if you take the shot of them running away after they blow it up and she wants to fuck afterwards, and you extend it, and then you take the campfire scene and you extend it, and then you do like a big longer one in the house where they're having their big like kind of breakup fight, like the last goodbye before she goes off and just does some real stupid shit. I think it wouldn't feel so terrible. And that's me giving advice to Paul Thomas Anderson, one of the guts. Yes. Anyways, now, I think we can move on to what I liked, which was actually a lot. You know, I just spent 16 minutes bitching about the first 20 minutes. But what we kind of have here, and we'll be coming back to this, is we sort of have... So you're used to, you know, we have the bread, the poop, and then bread. But that's not what we have here. Here we have poop bread in a really big Scooby-Doo sandwich about this tall, full of real good meat and potatoes. And then another little piece of poop bread on the bottom. And the piece of poop bread on the top is bigger than the piece of poop bread on the bottom, if you cared to ask, right? So, now that we're past the first piece of poop bread, we can go into the good old meat and potatoes. We can get into it. So, one of the first things I wrote down on my second viewing in my notes app on my phone, I had my brightness turned down in the movie theater. I'm not an animal. I wrote, I think it's a very pervasive idea. I think it comes back around in a lot of different ways. It's very fun. Feels very, you know, Thomas Pynchon. Obviously, this was sort of written off of some Vineland. Granted, I have not read Vineland, but I've read bits of Gravity's Rainbow. I understand the vibe that he goes for. It's almost, you know, having read a bunch of Chuck Palahniuk, I kind of feel like he is the discount Thomas Pynchon in a lot of ways, where, you know, I brought up Fight Club earlier. I see parallels here where it's just like these weird groups that just are, you meet these characters, they do things that you're like, this isn't really like, I'm not sure that this is possible, I'm not sure this is real, I'm not sure, but the suspension of disbelief is there and it functions, right? So, these sides that are drawn, you know, we have revolutionaries and the non-revolutionaries. We have the status quoers and the guys that would like to flip things on its head, right? These lines aren't so cleanly drawn as they might have just sounded in the way that I described it. That most of them don't really have the values that you would maybe ascribe to these revolutionaries. For me, Perfidia certainly doesn't. She's just like a piece of shit who is like kind of co-opting a revolutionary cause. I can go on and blow stuff up and just be a ridiculous person and like ruin a family and abandon a child because I can't face the music, right? She doesn't really have values. She certainly goes against almost anything she should be standing for. But, you know, what you get is this idea like Leo doesn't hate her. It doesn't really appear that way. There's no type of animosity. It feels like he, like, understood, which is strange to me. That's a cool, like, kind of PTA-ism of, like, these characters, he's not going to explain the whole thing. Their brains don't work like my brain. Thank goodness. There's just a lot of ways kind of around it. We have an in-group and an out-group, you know. We're behind enemy lines in all these instances. You know, like... Sean Penn with the Christmas group is like sort of the best example of you're not in the club. Like, this guy is willing to do almost anything in his power, including killing his own daughter, to get into this prestigious club, right? And these dudes are like fucking goofballs. Like, I thought it was hilarious that they have him wearing Patagonia and they have him wearing Lacoste and they're literally dripped down like the people, like it's just country club dudes, and it's great. You know, the scene where he comes over and the old lady's like, oh, do you want some pancakes? And so I know that lady, like not in real life, but I know 20 old ladies that are just like that, you know? It's this sort of like rotten underbelly kind of thing that exists under all these like these facades. Like it's there's bad shit in the basement, right? In all these places. You know, we like when he goes down to the basement, the evil hunter guy to catch him, man, that little scene with the duck behind the old dude is just awesome. Like, I just couldn't look away from it. They take themselves so seriously, and they're saying hilarious shit, right? See, this is the part that kind of feels contrasted to the beginning, where it's like, they take themselves seriously, but there are several moments where we get a beat, and, like, the theater's laughing at these guys. They say, like, Hail Saint Nick or whatever, and you're like, okay. And then they just say some like flagrant ass shit, and you're like, okay. But these guys are serious. They're gonna kill someone over it. Interesting. Another part of the You're Not in the Club that like occurred to me was we get like Sean Penn getting called to his first like maybe meeting with him, right? And he goes up in the hotel when like the second boner in command, his daughter is getting married, and they're just like little jabs. He's like, hey man, we brought you up the back because it's like a formal dress. And he's the only one wearing like a not a two-piece suit. He's got his little khakis on, and he's just like this military boy fish out of water, right? And that's the You're Not in the Club. Is like, regardless of how much you think you're in the club, regardless of the backflips you'll do on it, regardless of how much you're going to tap dance, you're not. You know? And the clubs themselves are a very fun thing, right? This feels very Thomas Pynchon as well, where it's, you know, what I'll do is I'll do some breakdowns, right? It's we've got the Christmas group, the white supremacist people that are like focused on Christmas, and they really need things to stay the way that they are. The military dudes are hilarious. They seem to just like drop shit on a whim and go which way. We have like Benicio del Toro running a Harriet Tubman style like Mexican Underground Railroad thing. We have a bunch of nuns in a monastery sort of thing up in the mountains growing a bunch of weed and shooting big ass guns. These are like objectively hilarious groups to be listing out loud right now, and they all kind of converge in this movie. Like, that's super fun. And I think like I said, as soon as we're getting into the middle, it's really all good. You know, another funny one is like the protesters. When Benicio and Leo are driving, Benicio just takes them right under his wing. And we get like those Mexican Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kids. They're like skateboarding around, doing fucking fat ollies. They get up on the roof and they're like, Leo, come with us. And they're jumping with their little hands up in the air. And we get like silhouettes on the rooftop of them running. And it's this cool thing of like behind every building, behind every facade, it's just teeming with life. You get this idea that there's a million groups in this city that we don't even get to see, right? Which is like super fun. It's one of the biggest compliments you can give to a movie is that it feels like it has a universe. If you gave me like a character and told me a couple of his lines, I could tell you if it would work or wouldn't in the movie. It's something along those lines where, you know, that's something to clap about. I think. I do. Now, the next thing I wrote was think Anubis. We've got the scale. You're going to be judged. We have a feather on the other side, mortal. And you've done what you've done. And here's the judgment day. It's this sort of like interior versus exterior. It's redemption arcs. It's betrayal. Maybe you can't judge a book by its cover. It's the thing I was saying earlier of like these lines between the teams. Okay, white supremacist military guy bad, revolutionary group good. Well, I would say the first part's true. I would say the second part is not true. These things aren't so... The lines aren't so clean. It gets a little messy, gets a little hazy, gets a little foggy. You know, like... What did I write here? Okay. You know what I thought about with the Weigh Your Heart thing is and where we get two sides of the opposite coin, is think about the white supremacist guy, Hunter, the Hunter guy, who's going to go track him down, and he gets caught, and he's like, oh, I'll handle this. They tell him, yeah, you got to kill a kid, and he's just there. He's immediately there. And that's why he's in the club. Maybe. I'm not even sure if his bosses would consider him part of the club, because they certainly treated him as expendable. But, you know, the Navajo tracker guy, who's also tracking her down on a different mission, who really doesn't have many allegiances except to Sean Penn, except to money, won't kill a kid, you know? And you get these, like, it's just these ideas that pop up a couple times. And it just gives you a little something to munch on. It's, this guy won't kill the kid. Sean Penn can't kill his own kid. So then he gives it to the Navajo guy, or her, holy shit, gives her to the Navajo guy, and then says, like, handle it. The Navajo guy's like, I'm not doing it. And he goes, take her to the 1776ers, which is another hilarious-ass group. Is these, like, white supremacist dudes with forehead tattoos that, like, got their, like, bulletproof vests, and they're just, like, chilling with walkie-talkies and tricked-out ARs in South Texas. Yeah, of course they are. Yes, I agree with that. You know? And then, like, that's a fun idea of weighing the heart, right? And with the Navajo guy, we do get a redemption, right? He sits there, and he can't let it happen. He's not doing it directly. It's indirect, right? But he can't let it happen. He's got to get out of his car, and he's got to go back and save her ass. Granted, I wanted to see the firefight. I'm not sure why PTA wouldn't let me see it, but very cool nonetheless. I wanted to see Relentless dude get his head exploded. Like, it's already a rated R movie. Let's lean in. But we don't get that. And, you know, I wanted to see the Navajo guy catch a couple more bodies. We don't really get to see that. We just see a little return fire, some volleys back and forth, and then he's dead. And Chase Infinity's got to go get the whatever, you know? But, you know, the weighing of the heart with the redemption, the betrayal, another key thing is sacrifices, right? And it's who's sacrificing what. Perfidia sacrifices nothing. I won't stand for it. I don't like her. Irredeemable character. And that's fine. It just sucks that the part of the movie that she's in is terrible. But, you know who does have a sizable sacrifice that happens off screen is Leo. He raises this child for 16 years by himself, just paranoid as all hell, smoking dope, drinking, living out in the boonies, and then, like, no phone. He's got a 1G, like, ham radio, and he's watching, like, the Battle of Algiers on VCR. Like, what's cool in the cut from before to after, cutting from the poop sandwich to the meat and potatoes, is that, like, we see that Leo kind of was able to leave it behind. Now, we understand why he shouldn't have, as soon as he starts forgetting all the codes and he's washed, you know. Like I said, death of a revolutionary. But he made the sacrifices. And I think, insofar as that, Anubis would be like, you're good, dude. You get to go to heaven. You get to go chill with J-Man upstairs. Right? It's someone that would put things aside, you know. The shit show could end with you, is perhaps an idea. And really, leads me to the next thing I wrote, which is, and this kind of ties into those sort of leftist ideas with, it's like, you got to be violent. You know, the system abhors violence, but it's based on violence. It's underpinned by violence. We've heard it all before. We've seen the Instagram stories. Really what it is that there's just this giant machine in the background that looms over all the revolutionaries, right? Regardless of a bank that they blow up, dudes in the helicopter still chasing you, FBI, what have you. There are these, like, machinations behind the scenes in this movie that, like, you're not getting away. They know where you are. They know exactly what you're doing. We'll get into this in a minute on my next point, but, you know, it's this idea that, like, anything that tethers you to this world, it stops you from being an absolute revolutionary. Think the Coyote guy when he gets kidnapped by the Navajo guy. They put him in that shipping container, and then the military guy's like, oh, you want to be funny, right? You're going to be giving me funny fake names. Well, guess what? We got your sister. Tell me some shit. And he just gives it up immediately. right? They, them, homie. Chase Infinity's they, them, homie. It works a little bit. They play tough. All the friends play tough. They're like, she don't got a phone. I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of my face. You know, you pig. And then as soon as the cuffs go on, they, them start singing. They know where the phone is. You know, this is an actual plot device that progresses the thing several times. Of like, these people don't have courage. These people's values are not... They're not absolute. Maybe no one's values are absolute, but that maybe is the idea of a principle, is that it's absolute. You have a principle because it does not change in the face of adversity. You have a principle because it doesn't change under threat of violence. Right? I think. I don't know. But these are really fun things to talk about it. You know? It's things that tie you to the world, so you don't really want to turn the whole thing upside down. I don't think you do, because you have things that you care about there now, you know? Leo has a kid. The dude has a sister. I'm sure there's more examples I'm forgetting, and I should have wrote more, but we're kind of just going off the dome here. The next thing, right? And this is another big one. And this was kind of what I got into a minute ago of like, the feds know where you are. This is another plot device that I think works really well in the movie's favor of like, it's not so logical so much as it is like fun, breakneck, right? Oh, one battle after another. Nice title, because it's apt in this situation, right? We have conspiracies everywhere. We've got these underbelly. We've got these seedy groups. We've got, you know, like I said earlier, behind each and every wall, there's just another group that's got different values, that thinks this, that maybe agrees with the other group on this and not with that. You know, it's very Pynchonian, if you will. This info is kind of relayed telepathically between these characters, right? How, like, Sean Penn at the beginning finds out he needs to ice his mixed daughter, and he says, he just makes a call, and they know exactly where Leo and the daughter are. Have they not been looking? I would imagine that they would want to stomp out all of the French 75, you know, if nothing else, just for personal reasons. But they leave her for like a long time. They let him go. I wonder if Sean Penn kind of let her go because it's his daughter. He would still probably want to go kill Leo, right? And take his daughter? I don't know. But it's this like, the military knows exactly where they are. They have this meeting and it's like, oh, they're in Backdam Pass. They know immediately. They tell this white tracker guy, you need to go kill the mixed girl and the dad, and he knows where they are immediately. We just cut and he's in the car and he's right behind him, right? Like, these are fun ways where I don't need to see the buildup. I think he absolutely killed the entire middle section, right? The meat and potatoes of the Scooby-Doo sandwich is outstanding. Like, I said this in a previous take, but it's like, I'm a guy that has to pee twice during the movie, maybe 3 times. Flea bladder, what are you going to do? And it's just, I'm sitting there and I'm about to piss myself, got my legs crossed, bouncing up and down because it's so electric that you can't look away. It's like a genuine 45-minute action sequence, and you can't look away. You know, the bit, you know, a big thing is like the score, right? It's like it feels like there's a song that's like 45 minutes long, picks up and down. They know what they're doing. It's outstanding, right? But there are parts, and it almost feels contrary to what I said at the beginning, but it just works in its favor in the middle of like, we don't need to know how X thing came to be. You know, we just do. Part of The Hills Have Eyes is like, who are the groups working for? What's fun is Leo fails the jump, which was a great little turn, a fun little plot development that you don't see coming. And then you're like, goodness, where's this going to go? We still got half the movie left. Well, turns out Benicio del Toro's got eyes in the hospital. He's got eyes in the police intake room. These people are like, hey, Bob, we got you. Get up on out of here. So he does. Like, Benicio's got little agents everywhere. Like I said earlier, these lines they're not so clean. These people that work for the police force aren't really on their side. They just appeared that way. They've got other allegiances, which, fun, complicated web. Things get hairier. You know, and what occurs to me is that, like, this movie is what Eddington thought it was. I'll rant about how Ari Aster's kind of worthless soon, besides Hereditary. But, like, this movie is what Eddington thought it was, you know? I'm not going to digress too much on Eddington, but, you know, the whole end scene is kind of fun with, like, you know, like the Illuminati Antifa people, like, hunting him down or whatever, shadowy figures with the guns. That's maybe the best part of the movie. But this movie does, like, the same thing in a way that's just, you know, he doesn't explain it. There's not a voiceover, thank fuck. But those buff Punisher skull-ass Oakley dad guys jump out the van when Sean Penn hits him. He's like, let's light that shit up. And then they jump out the van, and you can very clearly tell that they are not one of the protesters. And then they're the ones that throw the Molotov cocktail. Like, funny idea. Funny idea that we've got military agitators on the protester side of the protest, right? You're not in the club. The lines aren't so clean, right? Fun. These ideas, like, work, and they exist everywhere. They really do. You know, the next thing I would talk about is just, I would spend a moment on the performances, the relationships, the dynamics, right? If Sean Penn doesn't win the Best Supporting Actor, I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. He's absolutely magnetic. On screen for what? A total of 30 minutes, tops. It's one of those kind of movies where even all these big build actors are not on screen for all that long, maybe besides like Leo Chase Infinity. I don't know. Perfidion's not even in it after the first 20 minutes. You know, there's echoes of her, obviously, but, you know, Sean Penn's army walk. He's literally like Ken doll, like machismo, like just over the top, hilarious. Looks like his knees got blown out. Think Cotton Hill from King of the Hill. He's got that, like, I killed 50 men kind of vibe about him, and he waddles. He's got his chest puffed out. Of course he does. Like, so fun. There's so much self-loathing. Like, in the church, when he's trying to get her to do the paternity test, and he's like, you fucking mutt! And you're like, wow, that was a lot, Mr. Sean Penn. He just knocks it out of the park. And then you just get these strange moments of, like, humanity. Dude, when he goes to go give her, like, a bouquet of flowers after she flips and she's not there, crazy. He goes up to Leo in the store and he's like, you like black girls? I fucking love them. It's great. It's so funny. Like, I just, like, was laughing so much during, like, the middle part of the movie. That was the beginning part. I'll throw it a couple bones. But, you know, the fact that he's, like, around and, like, kind of knows what's going on. He's got to keep his eye on things. Him, like, being, like, so overjoyed to get in the Christmas club. It's just, it's an outstanding performance, right? Like, he really, like, walks the walk. I mean, obviously, like, you know, Leo is great. It's reminiscent to me of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood type performance where it sort of feels like Leo's playing himself with a filter on, you know? The Once Upon a Time in Hollywood plays himself with a filter on. In this movie, feels like he kind of is just playing himself with a filter on. He's doing, you know, when he goes to talk to the teacher, and he's like, you teach him about the real stuff, and he's vaping. And he, like, rips a pipe before he goes in to talk to the lady. Like, it's hilarious, really. Like, the more I talk about it, it's like the more I get so gassed up on the, as soon as the prologue is over, right? He is just hilarious. I'm thinking, like, when he shows up, like, he's just so washed. Like, him forgetting all the codes. These are things that we don't, like, no one has any qualms with any of this. So it's like, I don't even need to talk about it too much, but it's just outstanding. Him just, like, railing into the little annoying guy on the phone who, like, is, like, you know, he's a revolutionary, but there's not much revolution left. You know, Leo is, like, the remnants of that, and this guy won't let him back in the club because he can't remember the passcodes. It's hilarious. Him with Benicio, and he's, like, kind of freaking out. Benicio's like, courage, Bob. And then he's like, throws his fist up and he's like, Viva la Revolution. Him pressing the little Hispanic kid who came to the door to pick up the daughter is so funny. And he's like, what's up, homie? Hey, S.A., get in the car. Like, there's a good balance between, and you see both sides with Leo of, it's the revolutionary that died, and now he's kind of the washed old, like, leery, kind of racist old white guy, which is sort of funny. You know, him talking Spanish throughout the movie, and it's really busted, is hilarious. The dynamic between him and the daughter is great because it, you know, he doesn't save her. It's more he's just still washed, but he's got the courage. It's about his heart. You know, his heart was weighed, and he's gonna pass. Now his brain, if they weighed his brain versus the feather, I don't know if that would pass. But That's sort of like what's endearing about it to me, is that he's going for it, can't remember how to do anything. He's got a fucking hunting rifle, loses that, gets arrested. You know, Benicio's driving him in the car. He gets in trouble for drinking the beer because he can't stop getting drunk. They get pulled over. He's got a ditch there. He's really sort of bad at it, right? And you get the vibe that like maybe he wasn't that good at being a revolutionary in the first place. Very fun. Very, very fun. And then, you know, of course, like Chase Infinity saves herself. She was awesome too. She did a great job. Very impressed with her. You know, like the scenes of her, she won't call her dad. She calls him Bob. And she's pissed, and she's cooking him like quinoa casserole, and she wants to go to the dance. She's got the secret phone, you know? And what I will say is, you know, she has an intelligence to her that I think is like, it's good. It's a great thing, because she sort of like, she comes up with solutions to things that I wouldn't have come up with. You know? Think about the car scene. We get like, you know, going up over the hills. It's like this almost like psychedelic ass car chase. And the car chases are great. The car sequences in this are awesome. But, you know, we're going up and over the hills. Whoom, 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 whoom. And it's great. I'm getting a drop feeling in my stomach like I used to get when I would ride roller coasters. And then she slams on the brakes. That's something I wouldn't have even come up with. I would have died, you know? I would have died in real life right there. The white guy Hunter would have just shot my shit. And that would have sucked. But she is smarter than I am. She's better under pressure than me and her dad, right? Great. I think most of the performances are great. Like the guy that plays, oh man, see, I don't know his name, actor's name, whatever. But he picks up the phone and he's like, what's my favorite type of pussy? He's like, Bob, you got this. Like everyone has like a couple lines that they just kind of knock out of the park. They really do. You know? And that maybe brings me to, you know, literal walks of the characters embody them. That's sort of fun. What occurred to me, I was talking to my girlfriend about this afterwards, was like Leo has this larger than life personality. Like he does great press tours. You don't know too much about him except that he likes 22-year-old girls and that he has like a pretty good amount of swag and that he gets paid $20 million every time he does a movie and that you need to go see a movie when he does a movie, right? You kind of get this idea he's way larger than life. And so you kind of expect him to be cool in all facets. But it's like I was saying earlier of him playing himself. The way his character moves in this movie is just how he moves. They're just like, yo, Leo, dive to the ground and do like an action roll. And he's old and washed and he can't do it. He moves in an unathletic, sort of unappealing way. And I thought that was hilarious. You know, it's this character that's like washed. He can't keep up. And he certainly can't keep up with the Mexican Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles jumping across the rooftops. He can't keep up with anybody. Fun. Obviously, Sean Penn, Colonel Lockjaw, or what have you. He's got the chest puff out walk. It's really fun. It is. I think it's quite remarkable. And really, what the, you know, beyond the literal meaning of walk to walk is his, you know, talk to talk, walk to walk thing. Is like, who's dedicated? Dedicated to what? Obviously, we talked about this. Leo quits the revolution for his daughter. He's dedicated to his daughter, not the revolution so much. Perfidia, what's she dedicated to? Sex and explosions. But then when shit gets tough, I don't think she's really... All these other characters, even when times are tough, right? Think the coyote. Think the lady that saves Chase from the dance. They keep going even though the odds are insurmountable, right? Like, they're completely insurmountable. They spend all their money, they spend all their time. This dude's got a ham radio. He's riding the fucking Frisco City bus or whatever to go hand out cards to people at the immigration office in case they get kicked out to try and defend them. These are people that are willing to lose almost everything to do what they love. Perfidia leaves. Perfidia stands for just about nothing. She is just the wild card, right? And that's fine. But I don't want people acting like she's redeemable because she's not. Who else? You know? And with the walk to walk, with this dedication thing, I think we need to talk about, you know, who does Paul Thomas Anderson take seriously? Who does he not take seriously? Definitely not the revolutionaries. The revolutionaries are not a serious people. They're not. And that's why I think that there's this fundamental misunderstanding of people saying that this is like a leftist movie. No, in no way, shape, or form. It's just in no way, shape, or form, right? At the beginning, like I'm saying, the bad part, it seems like he takes the revolutionaries seriously. Even though we don't really see much good come of it, there's not very many funny moments. There's not very many weird beats where you see that they're unserious people. You see that they're kind of dweebs, you know? Like, when the movie gets into the meat and potatoes, they are dweebs. Think the old dude that won't give him the password. It's hilarious because he's like, what kind of revolutionary are you? And the answer is not much of one, right? The answer is like, as time goes on, it gets dulled. These people can't keep up. Most people don't want to blow stuff up. Most people got a family and they're good with it, right? So what kind of revolutionary are you? Well, it's not much of one. That's hilarious. They're getting made fun of. And then when we get the reveal of the guy, and he's like older than Leo, little dweeb-ass Portland-looking guy with a beanie on and a gray beard, and then he's like, I'm very sorry, sir. It's hilarious. I don't think you're getting taken seriously. You know what I mean? He certainly doesn't take the white supremacy group seriously. They're praying to Saint Nick. Seems to take the military like semi-seriously. You know, the only group to me, /person, what have you, that gets any sort of, I think, like, maybe dignity in their treatment is, like, Benicio and his squad. Like, we don't get to see too much about that. They don't explain too much. But the cops come. He rounds everybody up. He says, "Vamonos, let's get moving. Let's get him down into the Underground Railroad." And then he just sacrifices what needed to be sacrificed in order to get Leo on his way. He wants to help the French 75. So it's cool that they're inspiring people, like, even later than they are. But Benicio is, like, the only one that I feel like gets, like, they don't ever make fun of him, you know? Because a lot of this movie is laughing at Leo. A lot of this movie is laughing at Sean Penn. A lot of this movie is laughing at the white supremacy group. A lot of this movie is laughing at the seeds of revolution that have been sown, and they're kind of duds, you know? They're not going to quite grow to be a big old tree because they're dweebs. So he's the only one that I feel like you just through and through are like, this guy's pretty dope. Great performance, right? The line deliveries are outstanding. You know, him dancing backwards towards the cop. He runs the dojo. It's great. He's, you know, Bob, get off the tatami. Like, it's wonderful. It is. But after all that, now we got to talk about landing the plane. We talked about the shit sandwich. We knew the meat and potatoes were in the middle, and what's on the bottom of a reverse Scooby-Doo shit sandwich is more shit. And sadly, the end of this movie is bad. Sadly, the end of this movie doesn't work at all, in this almost the same way that the first part doesn't work. There's like a sincerity that gets brought up that just kind of like undermines, I feel like, everything. What I mean by like landing the plane is, you know, I have a great Delta flight, you know. Maybe the flight arrives at the gate early. They let me on the plane early. They give me my nice Delta Biscoff cookies. They treat me really nice. And there's not much turbulence during the flight. Maybe I watch a great movie during the flight. If you mess up the landing and we all die, the rest of it doesn't really matter, does it? You need to land the plane. You certainly need to land the plane. And he just doesn't. So, to me, I love the Sean Penn walking up over the hill. He doesn't die when he gets shot in the face. You get the little mariachi music, and, you know, he's this unkillable guy. But then right afterwards, he gets killed because he goes back to the Christmas group and gives him, like, the I got raped story, which is, like, you know, that part is great, too. Like, I think him, like, having the weird, like, offstandish thing with the business guys is really fun. You know something bad's going to happen. I didn't think they were going to gas him, but then it occurs to me that they said, like, keep it clean earlier, so they seem to work in that sort of manner. And I thought they were going to shoot him. Doesn't matter. That was sad, you know. He got gassed for what he loved. And was it a good thing that he loved? No, certainly not, but I did feel bad for him. So me... there's 4 or 5 times you could have cut this movie, I think, and it would have been much better than it is. I think you cut the movie when he's getting incinerated, when we get that shot through the little window, and it's just his face, like, you know, almost feels like that one shot in Midsummer. That that would have been a cool place to end it. That would have been a very cool place to end it. I'm thinking when we go after that, and then Leo has like the heart-to-heart with the daughter and says, I have a letter for you. I actually kind of like the idea of this because the daughter is very, Chase Infinity is very enamored with the idea of her mom, even like hating her, She's still invested. She still needs to know what happened. There's like this sort of, it like evades her, but it is, sort of intertwined with her destiny. Like, you need to know, I think. I don't have a deadbeat parent, but I assume that's kind of how it works. And I think when you put the letter on the table, you could have cut. I think she goes and reads the letter in her room, could have cut. I think maybe she comes out and we don't know what's in the letter, and she just hugs her dad, cut. I think there's so many times where you could cut, but we go back to voiceover. And it's Perfidia again, and I don't want to hear her, and I don't care, right? Like, the problem with all this is we've watched a 3-hour movie, and I cared for the whole middle part, and then I just don't care about Perfidia, and PTA is trying to make this story about Perfidia. It's really not about her. Like, there's a lot of ways where, like, she starts, like, some of these lines in motion that don't stop, but it's not about her. And I get this idea that the letter is supposed to be like the Paul Thomas Anderson gut punch, Think end of There Will Be Blood, the bowling pin smash. Think the end of Magnolia, it's raining frogs, and everyone's having their come to God moment. Think the end of Boogie Nights even. It's not a serious one, but we build up a whole movie to just a prosthetic dong reveal. These are fun. Like, for lack of better word, I mean, fun maybe not so much, but they really take you there. They have gravity to them. And then in this one, it's supposed to have gravity. We get this big letter, and she's like, oh, after it all, she is repentant. She does miss her daughter. She does want to see her. And I'm like, it's too little too late, right? And then, not only does it not end on the terrible voiceover, we go and we see that Chase Infinity has, like, she stayed out of it for a long time, seems to be, right? She wasn't doing any of the revolutionary stuff. Leo kept her away from it. Now she's just driving 3 hours to go stand in a protest. Like, when we take ourselves seriously at the beginning, and Perfidia is talking about how there are no peaceful means to change the system, right? And then you see that the violent means turn violent, and they don't really work. You know that the peaceful ones certainly don't do anything in this universe, I mean, let alone in real life. And she's just driving to a lame little protest. Does that not, like, undermine everything that her parents stood for? Are we supposed to have this moment with Leo where it's like, oh, he's letting his daughter go? Like, that's only a thing insofar as the dance, right? It's not so much about this authoritarian parent. Like, no, it's not. Like, this isn't... Can we have fun, please? Can we have fun, please? Like, I had so much fun, and then you shitted your pants, PTA. You shitted them. And the scene with him trying to take a selfie and the flashlight's on the wrong way and he's trying to learn back into the world is funny. But to me, that's something you put after the credits. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's bad. The end is bad. The beginning's bad. And really what that leads me to is... And I've given it this name because I think J. Cole's like the worst rapper ever. I think he's contributed nothing to the body of music or art that's worthwhile. I think the game would be the exact same without him. But you have people that actually think he is like the greatest, like bar none. He's like prophetic and he's got so much to say and he produces all his own music. So it's the J. Cole effect. This incongruence between what is and what normies think is huge. It's vast. And it makes it worse. So if J. Cole is actually only a 5 out of 10 because everyone calls him a 10 out of 10, I'm going to subtract the difference, and now he's a 0 out of 10. There we have the J. Cole effect, right? And this is involved with this bell curve because you get people saying that this is like the best movie of the 21st century. You get Leo saying, oh, really, man, it just holds the mirror up to us in our times. Okay, right, Leo. I'll keep that in mind. The difference between a 4 out of 5 and a 5 out of 5, or an 8 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10, is actually huge, right? Bell curve. There's a lot of 4 out of 5s. There's a lot of them. There's really not a lot of 5 out of 5s. They just can't be. And the difference between those is sort of an ocean, right? And then we get everyone on Instagram saying that this is Paul Thomas Anderson at his best. This is Paul Thomas Anderson at his most Paul Thomas Anderson. No, the fuck it's not. No, it's not. Get your head out of your ass. It's not a hat, right? No. I'm not going to stand for that. It's not better. It's actually the worst Paul Thomas Anderson movie that I have seen. There's plenty I haven't seen, right? So I'm not going to make that huge judgment. It's really fun, but the beginning and end are the only times I've ever seen him like not have a mastery of his craft. And people are going to act like that doesn't matter, and it does. It can't be a 5 out of 5. It just can't, right? And there's the bottom of the reverse shit sandwich Scooby-Doo style. Like, it's just that the end of this is terrible, doesn't land the plane. There's no type of... The rest of the movie leaves me with a lot of questions. A lot of the middle part leaves me with questions. It's all those things I was gassed up talking about. So gassed up I'm having to march around back there. And now we're sitting down at the end because I got bummed at the end. Like, for me, I think I get so amped on the middle part, the score, the performances, like a lot of this stuff, that I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Even though I have it at a 3.5 right now. It's hard to rate things. It really is. It makes things difficult. But to act like this is like one of the better movie efforts in the 21st century is disingenuous. To act like this is one of Paul Thomas Anderson's best efforts is pretty disingenuous. That's not to say it's bad, but this is a guy that makes just straight sex. Like, it's so good. Like, I just, every other movie that I named by him that I've seen, like Phantom Thread, Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, all these to me are like flawless. The Master, like everything that I just listed by him, which I think that's the only ones of his I've seen, are just all flawless. And this isn't. It's just not. Thanks for talking.